Live-action remakes. I remember just last month as I was throwing eggs at the windows of the local orphanage, I thought to myself, you know what's missing from my life? Live-action remakes of some of my most cherished childhood animated properties. Or, alternatively, only one of those things happened. I'll let you decide for yourself which one. Yes, Avatar The Last Airbender has been remade in live action, as I'm sure you may have seen. And let's get one thing out of the way right off the bat. It's not this. And that's good. That's good. But okay, let's set our bar just a little higher than that movie. How is it? Well, I'm willing to say it's the best live action remake of an old animated IP since The Jungle Book.
You can be with me if you want. I'll keep you close.
Oh boy, that's conflicting. But let's be real. That's also a pretty low bar, so why don't we just talk about this on its own? The good, the bad, and the ugly of the live-action Avatar The Last Airbender. Let's start with the good, because I'm known for being a very positive and optimistic person.
All right. Settle down, entire planet.
Oh, I'm gonna spoil things, but I don't feel bad about spoiling a show that's 19 years old. The number one thing that I can praise this show for is that it was made by people who maybe liked the original show?
Weird.
I know, that is weird. In every way it possibly could, it looks like the original show. I didn't have to wait for a character to be introduced to know, oh, that's Uncle Iroh, oh, that's the Tinkerer, and oh, that's Master Paku. The costume design, hair, makeup, all of the cosmetic visual stuff, down to the locations we go to, truly look like the animated show simply brought to life. The cast looks like it did in the original show for the most part. There's no one who looks like they're from Ireland or something walking around in this mostly homogenous world. I've got issues with a couple casting choices, but I'll cover those in the bad section. None of the characters receive the modern remake treatment of being completely assassinated in an attempt to prop up a strong female character or promote social justice messaging. The story is kept kind of intact. They condensed it down to a total runtime of about 70 minutes less than the first season of the original show, and they do make little additions that are positive, including noting that Zuko has studied the Avatar concept extensively, and my personal favorite is that Zuko's crew is made up of the battalion that he spoke up in defense of in his father's war meeting, the very thing that got him banished in the first place. The fight choreography is solid, and the bending looks surprisingly not ridiculous, considering what they're trying to bring to live action. But let's move on to the bad, because there's plenty to be desired. And most of those things can be boiled down to one word: pacing. The pacing in this show is all over the place. You get a feeling of whiplash as 2 episodes try to cram as many storylines from the original show together as it can, and the next 2 episodes drag out a storyline that was originally resolved in less than 20 minutes for well over an hour. I mentioned that the total runtime for this first season is a little over an hour shorter than its animated counterpart when taking into account the animated show's longer intro and the Netflix adaptation's much longer credits. That boils down to about 4 episodes worth of the original show. But this season leaves out considerably more than 4 episodes worth from its story. And what storylines it chooses to include and ignore don't exactly make a whole lot of sense to me. Let's consider their choices. They omit the story of Katara getting the earthbender Haru captured and getting herself captured as well to try to save him. They omit the story of Katara stealing a waterbending scroll from the pirates. They omit the story of the kids crossing the Great Divide and having to keep 2 warring families in line. They omit the story of the fortune teller, and actually they give no indication in the entire season that Aang has any sort of feelings for Katara, which normally I wouldn't care about, but it actually is pretty important later in the story.
Let all of those attachments go. Let them flow down the river, forgotten.
What? Why would I let go of Katara?
They omit the story where Sokka and Katara reunite with their dad's fellow soldier Bato, leaving Aang doubtful of whether he has truly found a family in them. And they omit the story of the deserter, Jon, from whom Aang tries to learn firebending, but learns of the danger of fire and creates a lot of apprehension for him about learning it in the future. And last, and most infuriatingly, they take out Katara learning waterbending from Paku. Now, honestly, if I had been put in charge of the adaptation and was told I had 8 episodes at just under 50 minutes a pop, I would have cut some of the same things. The Great Divide isn't needed, the fortune teller can be scrapped for sure, The pirates are fun, but pretty expendable. The rest of the stuff, though, I would have probably made sure it was in there. Now, let's consider the stories they did include and how they allotted time to them. The first episode covers Aang being found by Sokka and Katara, up to Zuko attacking the village, a condensed version of them visiting the Southern Air Temple and Aang entering the Avatar state for the first time, and the flashbacks from the storm that cover the circumstances of Aang abandoning the Airbenders gets shoehorned in. We're treated to flashback dialogue of Aang telling Appa that he's scared of having to be the Avatar, and that he knows who he is. He's a kid who likes to goof off with his friends. Because you know the age-old adage of storytelling, tell, don't show. There's actually a ton of clunky exposition in this episode, with Gran explaining to Aang and the audience exactly what the situation he finds himself in is and the Avatar's role, rather than Aang finding these things out gradually and struggling to accept their reality. There's also a moment when Sokka and Katara are helping Aang escape from Zuko, where Katara pulls off what is actually an incredible feat of waterbending, where she brings water from the ocean hundreds of feet beneath them up to block a fireball shot at them. And I don't think I'm alone in saying I'm sick of seeing characters unlock great power without doing a lick of training. The second episode follows the kids to Kyoshi Island, where Aang visits Avatar Kyoshi's shrine to try and learn about the Avatar state and how to potentially control it. We also get our introduction to Commander Zhao.
Admiral Choi! Prepare to meet your fate!
This episode introduces us to Suki, and she quickly became the most endearing character in the show to me. Her character in the original cartoon didn't get a whole lot of super expressive animations, so the much more limited emotional capacity of live action serves her best. This episode is the high point of the season. We get to see some incredible bending when Kyoshi's spirit inhabits Aang's body and shows us just a bit of what a fully trained Avatar can do. Despite the strengths of this episode, though, I did start to get concerned for the show as I realized it was stretching one sub-20 minute episode into well over 40 when the show really doesn't have the runtime to do that. But episode 3 is where the show's pacing completely falls off a cliff. The kids visit Omashu, which looks amazing, but that's about all I can say in praise of this episode. It tries to cram the stories of Jet, the Tinkerer from the Northern Air Temple, Zuko reluctantly working with Zhao to find Aang, Azula being brought into the fold, Iroh getting captured, and sets all of it in Omashu. First of all, Azula, and Mei and Ty Lee for that matter, look too young in their casting. The same goes for Zuko. They all look closer to Aang's age than Sokka's. But I'll spend more time talking about Azula being here later in the video, don't you worry. All of these storylines being crammed together will give you whiplash, especially if you've seen the original show. Jet's story in particular desperately needs more time, as he ends up being a rather significant character throughout the show. The Tinkerer is played by Danny Pudi.
It's okay, buddy. Just a few more minutes and we're good until spring, okay?
But it doesn't make any sense.
Think of it this way. We get the hour back later in the year.
Yep, that's how I feel watching this episode. And episode 4 doesn't let its foot off the gas either. We get Zuko tracking down Iroh and his captors, Bumi testing Aang, in this version trying to break his spirit and make him as hopeless as he is, a little aftermath of Jet, a flashback of when Iroh lost his son in battle, more of the flashback from when Zuko was banished by his father, and the Cave of the Two Lovers. Now, if you know the original show, you may be saying to yourself, hold on, I thought some of these plot lines were from Season 2. You're right. This season, which is already working off less total allotted time than the original show, decides to insert plot lines from a future season, making its job to adapt this season even more difficult. The Cave of Two Lovers plotline in the Netflix adaptation is honestly just boring. It's only Sokka and Katara going through it, which means we still don't have any whisper of the development of Aang falling in love with Katara, which worries me for the future because I'm not confident they're going to do enough to set up this payoff.
The only way is to let her go.
I'm sorry, Katara.
Now, episodes 3 and 4 have this show traveling at breakneck speed. In episodes 5 and 6, the show slams on the brakes and sends the viewer hurtling through the windshield. After cramming so much into 2 episodes, you imagine that maybe that means they'll be able to give proper time to episodes like The Deserter, or Imprisoned, or Bato of the Water Tribe. But instead, they give a 2-episode arc of introduction to the spirit world. Like in the original show, the kids come across a forest that has been burned down and find a nearby village, the inhabitants which are frightened by the spirit of that forest that has taken many of them into the spirit world. So, in episode 5, Aang meditates to enter the spirit world, but in the adaptation he accidentally takes Sokka and Katara with him. Not sure how that works. Mainly so they can have flashbacks that they have in season 2 of the cartoon in the swamp. Upon losing them, they both get taken by Ko, the face stealer. Although you wouldn't know that's what he does from this show. Aang meets Ko, encounters a vision with Monk Gyatso, and leaves the spirit world to travel to Avatar Roku's temple in the Fire Nation to speak to him. Oh, and Zuko and Iroh hire the chick with the creature that can track anything by scent and can paralyze people with its tongue. That takes over 45 minutes, and hardly anything happens. I watched this episode 3 times and honestly can't give you the foggiest idea of why the writers thought this needed 45 minutes, when, again, it's taking stuff from season 2. Episode 6 sees Aang arrive at Roku's temple and, with help from one of the fire sages, communicates with Roku, who tells him how he can get Ko to let the people he's taken hostage go. And then Aang is captured by Zuko and Iroh and their bounty hunter. Worth noting here, because we never get the episode with Haru, Zuko doesn't have anything of Katara's or Aang's or Sokka's for that matter to give to the bounty hunter to let the creature smell and go off of to track them. So I really am kind of curious how they found him. Now, going to Roku's temple and meeting Roku is pretty important. Avatar Roku is the avatar with whom Aang shares the most conversations, as he is his direct predecessor. And since we're taking things really slowly now, apparently, that means we should get, who knows, maybe 30 minutes devoted to this entire plotline, right? How about 8 minutes instead? Not nearly enough time because the pacing is horrendous. Zhao takes Zuko's prize capture away from him, so Zuko has to save Aang from captivity as the Blue Spirit. Aang and Zuko then share a conversation about potentially being friends if not for the war, and more time is spent on that than on the entire Roku Temple plotline. Interesting ordering of priorities, writers. Aang goes back to the burned down forest, yep, we're still there, re-enters the spirit world, and frees Sokka and Katara and the rest of the villagers from Ko. But here's the thing. Here's how long it's been since this entire plotline started. The writers forgot why Aang even went into the spirit world here in the first place. He never placates the spirit of the forest, Heibai. They just forgot about that. So I guess this village is still screwed. Way to go, Aang. Episodes 7 and 8 cover the kids' time in the Northern Water Tribe. Again, interesting runtime management to forego multiple storylines in service of extending a story that originally lasted less than 60 minutes to over an hour and 40 minutes. And again, do we fill that extra time with some rich world building and character development? Of course not. In fact, we lose a vital piece of character development. In the live-action version, Katara spends 0 time training with Master Pakku, so the person who is going to train the Avatar to master waterbending is not only a teenager, but she also has received 0 training herself outside of reading a scroll and talking to Jet about using pain or something. One of the dumber parts of the original show is the condensed timeline they work with in having Aang learn waterbending, earthbending, and firebending within 1 year. For Avatar Roku, it was many years of bitter work, but for Aang, it was a quick ordeal. And I get that he didn't necessarily master earth and firebending, and he beat Ozai in the Avatar state, but it's still a tough pill to swallow. Well now, the Netflix adaptation seems determined to make that even more difficult to believe. It really dilutes the supposed immense challenge laid at the Avatar's feet. But back to what these episodes do and don't cover. Episode 7 begins with Zhao's attempt on Zuko's life. They spend a bit more time with Azula, and Aang meets with Avatar Kuruk. And episode 8 doesn't add anything new. We already got Aang's interaction with Ko, so we don't have that, or Zuko taking Aang while he's in the spirit world. We get a brief mention of lion turtles in Zhao's flashback when he learns about the physical identity of the moon and ocean spirits. And I really hope they don't think that is a suitable setup for the absolutely story-altering payoff it creates in the 11th hour to bail Aang out of his hypocritical moral quandary in the finale. As you may be able to discern, I'm not a big fan of the finale. Really, the show in episode 7, and especially episode 8, just drags its feet through the story with no sense of urgency. Because that is the show's fatal flaw that prevents even the loyal fans of the original series from enjoying it. The pacing sucks. Hardly any story gets the time it merits. Either the show spends far too much time, not nearly enough, or simply skips it altogether. But that's just the bad of the show. The ugly elements of the show consist of things the writers just fundamentally misunderstood about basic principles of character development and world building, as well as indictments of the stale state of modern entertainment more generally. I've said before that storytelling consists of three basic pillars, those being plot, characters, and world, and that the mark of a skilled storyteller is the ability to develop more than one of those at the same time in ways that the overall progression of the story doesn't feel interrupted. In terms of world building and character development, this show fails miserably. Much of the dialogue is characters explaining to another character, but really the audience, how the world works and why the Fire Nation is the way it is and what the Avatar's role in all of it is. It's stunted world building that takes the audience out of the flow of what's actually happening in the immediate world surrounding us. And the character development falls victim to the same treatment. Characters go on brief monologues giving us their backstory and allegiances. But we can't get to know characters in this way. We can only get to know about them. By the way, this isn't how we get to know people in real life either. When you're going on a date with someone, the conversation gets stale when it's just an interview-style question and answer exchanging basic facts about yourself. Those questions, like your favorite music and movies and sports teams, can inform you about the person, but their main purpose is to establish a mutual interest or connection and serve as launching points to organically flowing conversations where your personalities come out. And you see how your date reacts when talking about something they have a passion for, the kinds of jokes they make, how they tease you about the way you say Colorado, and who comes up in the stories they tell that indicates that person is clearly an important figure in your date's life. That's how you actually get to know someone in conversation. And this show does almost none of it. There are a couple interactions where they get it right. The writers get it right with some of Sokka and Suki's dialogue, but not much beyond that. They struggle with the golden rule of writing. Show, don't tell. Don't have Yue tell me she sometimes wants to be a normal girl. Show me her loosening up and smiling and laughing while goofing off with Sokka. Don't tell me Jet harbors intense anger towards the Fire Nation. Show me interrogating the man they took down and getting a bit carried away, despite being kind and gentle with Katara and his compatriots. But nope, they can't be bothered. I mean, what does it even matter? This show is a sure bet to be successful because Netflix can capitalize off of the nostalgia of a loyal fan base, right? Well, that brings me along to the systemic problems in this show. There are problems that go beyond just bad writing to the heart of why this show was made. I'm not going to be the 10,000th YouTuber to go on a rant about live-action remakes of old animated IPs. I'll keep it brief. 1, we're sick of them. 2, they reveal studios' utter lack of originality and faith in themselves to come up with even semi-original stories that will appeal to audiences. 3, we're sick of them. 4, animation allows for incredible, impossible expressions. When you go to live action, you inevitably lose those. The result is necessarily more stoic characters, which means less fun, which means you lose a lot of the charm that made the original creation successful.
Drink cactus juice. It'll quench you. Nothing's quenchier. It's the quenchiest.
Okay, I think you've had enough.
And 5, we're sick of them. The other systemic issue revealed in the show is relying on payoffs to excite the audience now, because studios either don't trust their own ability to captivate their audiences for long enough to make the payoffs sweet, or don't trust their audiences to have an attention span longer than that of a gnat to actually make it to the payoffs. And honestly, both may be true. In the original show, Azula is revealed in the Season 1 finale, and really in the Season 2 premiere to introduce her as the primary antagonist for Season 2. And Ozai is shown silhouetted occasionally through the first 2 seasons, but we don't get to see his face until the first episode of the 3rd season. In Netflix's adaptation, however, Ozai is revealed at the end of the 2nd episode, and Azula at the beginning of the 3rd episode. The result is a jumbled mess of villains. In the original show, the enemy in each season is clear. In Season 1, it's the gang against Zuko and Zhao. In Season 2, it's the gang against Zuko and Azula. In Season 3, it's the gang against Azula and Ozai. In the adaptation, all 4 are present throughout the first season, and you spend most of the season wondering whether you have to care about Ozai and Azula yet or not. The answer is you don't. They're just trying to get you to say, it's Azula. It's just key jangling.
Jingling keys.
Fun for babies, not for Batman.
They even show Azula shooting lightning in the first season. This show is a beautiful facade. It gets a lot of the superficial aspects right. It's a show that looks like Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that veneer is just a thin disguise for a mess of terrible runtime management, inorganic character development, and stunted world building. It's just the latest in a long line of insults to beloved animated IPs. Hey, if you like this video, be a friend, tell a friend. If you really liked it, you can, well, like it, and maybe check out some of my other videos and consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already. You can leave a comment that I might read, but probably not, let's be real. If you hated it, kinda weird to still be watching. Luckily though, we have a suggestion box called the comment section. You just have to like the video and be subscribed to get me to read the comment. Shh, let the haters feed the algorithm.
All right, the sauce.
What?
The sauce. I don't know. You're using too much sauce, okay? Review's over.